Hello again, my friends, and you are my friends. And let me just change the background there because this is not talking wrestling. No, 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 no. This is talking darts. That's right. We're back with some talking darts action. I am, of course, the Gov. I am here to give you 30 minutes of, well, if we can do 30 minutes, because it is a quieter period on the calendar, I am told by the big fish. So welcome in one and all. You can, of course, find us on all podcast platforms. Just search Talking Darts. If you can't find it, come and find me or come and find the big fish, and we will certainly help you find it. I know from our downloads plenty of you have, so we thank you all the same. If you're watching this live, do get some comments in. If you're not watching it live, we do still invite the comments. So right, let's bring in my partner, my co-host, the guy that's going to keep us on track, the guy who actually knows what he's talking about, to be brutally honest. Big Fish Tom James, how you doing?
All right, mate. How are you? Good
I
evening.
am well, my friend. We have had some downloads on the last couple of Talking Darts. We now want some active chat because obviously this is a fan platform, so we invite the fan comments, don't we? We invite their opinion on their darts.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Like you said, it's not the busiest period at the minute. It could be a couple of months of Premier League on Thursdays, a couple of like development tours, challenge tours on the weekend. So they might go under the radar for fans who probably watch it typically on telly all the time. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, a little bit of a lull period relatively. So, but there's still a few bits to talk about. Going to catch up on Premier League last week, have a look to this week as we're in Rotterdam this week. So we're getting abroad for the first
Liverpool
time, which would be
or
great.
Rome, Rotterdam is anywhere, anywhere. Please tell me they sing that at the dart event in Rotterdam.
I was just thinking, actually, I can imagine a few of the Brits might, but yeah, I've not heard it out there. But it used to be like when Van Barneveld used to play out there, that's where you'd get all of the singing for him, and the atmosphere would be incredible. But yeah, it's a shame
Nice.
he's not around this time. So,
Like it, like it. Okay, so who do you expect to win in Rotterdam then?
oh, should have a look at the lineup, shouldn't we? See who
We
we've got.
should, we should.
Who
While
we've
you're
got.
doing that, we have got Jim Williams beat Ricky Evans 8-6 to win the Players' Championship. That, I'm going to be brutally honest, this point in my darts journey means naffle to me. So tell me, fill me in. What does that mean?
Yeah, so like I touched on, in terms of it being quieter, it's not quiet for the players who are playing every single week on like the challenge tours, development tours, and these take place either in the week or across the weekend in various different venues. And they happen in Europe as well. So it's ways for players to accrue points
Mm-hmm.
and prize money to then progress and get onto the bigger tournaments in the future. So yeah, a couple of players' championships this weekend. So Jim Williams beat Ricky Evans. Yeah, good result. Ricky Evans, good player. Jim Williams, I didn't know too much about him until very recently. So yeah, really good from him. And we saw Damon Heta get an excellent win against Gary Anderson as well in the other tour on the weekend. So both of those took place in Barnsley. But yeah, Damon Heta is one who's kind of on the cusp of doing really good things. He
Is
is
he?
playing, yeah, he's playing really well. He's up sticks from like Australia way, and he's committed to being
Okay.
in the UK and like settling down roots, and like he's good friends with quite a lot of players over here as well. So yeah, really good character, and yeah, I think he'll do all right in the future. Is now he's settled himself. If he gets a few more prizes under his belt, a bit more
Yep.
cash, and then he'll climb up. But yeah, to beat Anderson after last week's events, I thought it was a great result
Well,
for him.
this is it. I'm just trying to find the order of merit. He's 21st on the PDC
Yeah,
live
he's,
order of
he's
merit.
climbing. If you're in the
Yeah.
top 32, then excellent. You're gonna be in and amongst all the big tournaments,
Hmm.
and that's where you want to be. You want to aim for the top 32 if you're starting to progress. But once you get into the top 16, then you start thinking, okay, this is proper big time now, really big money, serious games going on. And then as soon as you get in the top 10, you're in Premier League talk. So
Yeah.
yeah, so it all builds up through those rankings really.
So he's 24th on the main OOM. Does that mean something to yourself? Order of
Order
merit,
of
I
merit,
imagine.
yeah.
Yep, on the darts rankings, 24th with 154 prize money. So yes, a name to certainly watch out for. Just looking for at this Rotterdam event to see who was sort of taking part. Obviously, you've got Van Gerwen on the poster, along with Peter Wright and Gerwin Price. So you'd imagine the three of them are going to be there. But the tickets are available, Tom. €34. Do you fancy it?
Oh, I'm not getting across to Rotterdam. No, but no, it was
No,
in
come down to
Nottingham.
Felixstowe, get the old Hook of Holland ferry. We can get ourselves to Rotterdam.
Yeah, my mum used to tell me all about those stories because she was Ipswich girl and she used to go across to Holland all the time when she was younger.
Let's do it, man.
But
€34. That's nothing.
yeah, I'm not going to get there on a Thursday. That's going to be
Oh,
tricky.
that's true. Yeah.
But yeah, if I'm working remotely, my boss says, "What are you doing in Holland?" I'll be like, oh, with a stinking hangover.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Fair point. Fair point. Okay, let's look at last week's Premier League. Obviously, a shocking store. A player that we haven't spoken a tremendous amount about won it. Gary Anderson, would you believe? Before we get to Gary, let's look at obviously the quarters. Michael Smith not only beat James Wade, he demolished James Wade 6-1. Is that a surprise to yourself?
Yeah, I think whenever we talk about James Wade, we don't associate him with a thumping. He's always in the game. It's competitive. But yeah, it's mad. He lost 6-1 with 102 average, which is as good as it's going to get for probably a lot of the tournament for him. So for Smith to do that and kind of hit the right doubles at the right time was just a testament to probably how good
who's Michael Smith?
Who's Michael Smith?
Because he wasn't in the... Has he been on since the start?
Yeah.
Has he?
Always been about. Yeah.
Has he? I must have just literally slept through his games because that's the first time I've seen his name. I swear blind. Okay, Michael Smith beat James Wade. Van Gerwen beat Gerwin Price. So what was I calling him last week? Van Price.
Van Price, yeah. So
they met. Great game as well. I really enjoyed that game. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah. So like world's top two went into it. So Peter Wright and Gerwin Price both went into it with injuries. So like we talked about Gerwin Price not being in the week before because of his dodgy hand, and whether that was through his, boxing training or not, nobody really knows. He says it wasn't, so we'll just take it as his word. It's just an injury, and Peter Wright went into it with a back problem, so he had to get that sorted before he went back. But yeah, didn't stop Gerwin Price beating Van Gerwen, which says a lot. He did that with a dodgy hand, so yeah, fair play to him. Again, 102 average.
Does that
look really good?
Psychologically take a lot out of Van Gerwen being beaten by a player with a dodgy hand? Do you think that's something that we should look out for in future weeks? Is that going to be a psychological battle, or do you think a player like Van Gerwen will just brush that off and not pay too much to it?
He shouldn't really need to, given his pedigree. He should think, well, I could win anyway, regardless. But yeah, for Gerwin Price to win that game with 102 average probably shows he might have been a bit injured, but it's probably not as bad as anyone thought. So could be a little bit of mind games. I don't know. But yeah, it's good. It was good to see him and Wright both play, well, because you don't want them turning up and then just it's two games kind of missing from the evening. So, but yeah, it's all right. It's all right. Peter Wright obviously wasn't as good as he could be. He was very subpar in his quarterfinal against Joe Cullen, but yeah, unfortunately, Cullen just couldn't raise his game to it. But yeah, I think the highlight of those quarters has to be, Gary Anderson somehow getting through on an 89 average against Johnny Clayton. Johnny Clayton usually beats anyone with such an average at the minute. So
yeah, you're right. He does.
Yeah. So it's, and very mixed bag at the quarterfinals, but some interesting results popping out of there. So yeah.
So at that point, having just said what you've said about Gary Anderson, Tom, if I had told you at that point via WhatsApp, Gary Anderson's going to win tonight or overall, what would your reaction have been to me? Because I know what I would have thought about it if I'd been told that.
Yeah, I would have said, well, Michael Smith or Gerwin Price are going to win it because, I just didn't see it coming. But I think what they said on commentary as well after the game is Anderson is, I think everyone who follows darts knows he's one of the best players in the world. And he's one of the best to have been, but he's just not been on it at all for several years. And even he said it after he won this last week's Premier League. He said, that's the best I've played in 3 years. So when he's back at his peak, he could beat absolutely anyone. And it was just great to see him back. And I thought we saw this with Michael Smith 2 weeks ago. He was floundering at the bottom of the table. We went, come on, make it competitive. And he's got back into it. He's mid-table now, and Anderson's now off the bottom of the table. So we really wanted this format to kind of show a bit of change, and we wanted to players to not be coasting away with it or like gonna get relegated straight away. So yeah, it's competitive. It really is. Joe Cullen's bottom of the table now, and he had a good few first weeks, so anything can change. And yeah, it's going all right, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, he did go on and win it in the end. Gary Anderson, a player we've not spoken a lot about. So let's have a moment to speak about Gary Anderson. As you say, he's no longer at bottom of the league table. I will now just show you that league table. Oh no, wrong one. I do apologise. Were you surprised that? Well, tell me about Gary Anderson, I suppose, because like I say, he's not a player we've spent a whole lot of time talking about. So when he won, I was a bit gobsmacked. I thought he was just there to make the numbers up. Tell me about it.
No, background wise, he's won the Premier League before. He's a back-to-back twice world champion. So he's also been in the final probably four or five times. I think 4 times he's been in the final. But yeah, he was in the final a couple of years ago when Gerwyn Price got his first title. So he can absolutely do it. He's there, 6th in the world. There was a point where he wasn't even playing every tournament several years ago just because he wanted to do what he wanted to do. And then I think some of the pundits put him down a bit, and it kind of put some fire in his belly again and went, I'm going to prove these people wrong, because he gets a bit sick and tired of people thinking he can't do something, but everyone knows he can. It's just whether he wants to show it.
Absolutely. Good for him. Now I know that story. That's even better. I hadn't looked at the league table before we went live. I'm a bit surprised to see Van Gerwen as leader.
No, well, he's back in form, and it really shouldn't surprise anyone. He's probably won the Premier League more than anyone bar Taylor. So, yeah, he's got such a good run.
Is that form. Just consistency, Tom?
Yeah, he's picked it up massively from a bit of a rocky start, and he's showing his form a bit at the start of this year. So it shouldn't be a surprise for anyone. He could break away a little bit by the looks of it. So it's whether Price and Clayton and Wright can keep up that form, whether those injuries are going to come through for Wright and Price, we don't know. Hopefully Clayton can do something, Smith can make a run of it. But yeah, we're only, what are we here? We're 5 weeks in. It could be week 6 or 7 coming up. So
absolutely,
we're only halfway through it, really. So
there's 7.
Yeah, night 7 coming up. So there's plenty to play for, and anyone can still do anything. So if you're at the bottom of that table, you're just thinking, okay, top 4 push, need to get in there.
Yeah, and wins like last week, Gary Anderson, I suppose, give players like Michael Smith, like Joe Cullen, that little bit of inspiration that Van Gerwen played himself into form. Anything is possible in this format, I guess.
Yeah. It's taken me a few weeks to acclimatise to it, but I'm quite enjoying it. I'd like to see how it goes longer term and just see if that's enjoyable as a longer format across so many weeks. But I think it's doing all right so far. It needed a bit of a refresher, I think, but it's an exhibition tournament, Thursday nights for about 16 weeks, so you can kind of play around with it because you're there for the crowds mainly. You're just touring it around Germany, Holland, and the UK. So yeah, it's all a bit of fun.
We are in night 7, Rotterdam quarterfinals. Let's go through this. Peter Wright versus James Wade. Who do we fancy for that one?
Really depends if Wright is fit. He won last week, but he wasn't really convincing in his averages. So I wouldn't put it past James Wade getting a result out of that, even though he lost 6-1 last week. I think he could just grind something out, just like the way he does. So yeah, I'm going to go for Wade this week, I think.
Oh, okay. James Wade to beat Snake by Peter Wright. That is right, isn't it? Snake Bite, his name?
That's right, yeah.
Boom. See? Learning. Gary Anderson versus Joe Cullen. Who we got?
I'd probably have to go for Anderson. He's got a bit of form behind him, reached the final against on the weekend, lost out to Heta. But yeah, Cullen's sitting at the bottom at the minute, so he needs to get himself a bit of form going from somewhere. He can definitely do it, but I'll probably have to go with Anderson just based on form at the minute. So yeah.
It's a bit sad that they're playing each other because I would like to have seen Anderson and then also Cullen progress into the semis, really up their game. Obviously, Anderson keep that momentum going. Joe Cullen kickstart the momentum. Just kickstart. I don't think he's really got going in this Premier League yet. He needs something to ignite it and kickstart it, I feel.
Yeah, he had a really good first couple of weeks in it, and then he's just tailed off a little bit. But yeah, he was unfortunate week before last when Going Price had to pull out because he was scheduled to play like last, and then all the games played, and then all the semis played, and he had like a 6 game gap where he wasn't playing that week. And when he played in his semi because he got the bye, he was just probably like waiting around too long and he wasn't ready. And I think that kind of put him down a bit on that week, and then he's just not taking any momentum into the week just gone. So hopefully a week of playing with a routine might help him a bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Johnny Clayton, Gerwin Price.
Oh, this should be, well, these 2 next quarterfinals are going to be the highlights of this, I think. But yeah, Price played well. I think Clayton just maybe. Depends if Price is fit. His hand's all right, but yeah, the table's really tight. Clayton on 10, Going Price on 9 points, so could go either way. I'll go for Clayton. I think it might be a week where probably things happen where we don't expect them to happen. So yeah, Wade, Anderson, Clayton getting through. Then we've got Van Gerwen versus Michael Smith, which could be a hell of a game.
Go on, Michael Smith.
I hope so. It'll be done in 15 minutes, this game. Both so quick, really good pace of the game usually when they play. Hopefully Smith can... he's got to a couple of finals recently, so he is showing form. But Van Gerwen is setting the pace at the top of the table. So again, I would like to say Smith, but I think I will go for Van Gerwen just based on how he's doing at the minute. So
yeah, I like Van Gerwen. He's one of my favourite players in this Premier League tournament. But I just want I'm not going to call them the also rans, but I just want the extra the players that haven't got started to get started. Make it heat it up a little bit, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, a bit of bunching in that table, and just we want to fight, don't we? So we want to see a bit of competition.
And new names every other week is obviously pretty good for the tournament. So Wade Anderson semi, who do you think would win that one?
I would say Anderson.
Okay.
But again, I wouldn't be surprised if it was Wade. But if I have to put someone on, I'll go for Anderson.
And Clayton Van Gerwen.
Clayton Van Gerwen.
Van Gerwen.
I think Van Gerwen, and then I think he follows it into the final and wins this week. I think I'd like Anderson to win again. I'd like him to get up the table, but
yeah,
you've got to go with the green machine and what he does. So yeah, that's probably how I see it going. I assume you think the same. Van Gerwen's going to get this week.
If I follow your format, yeah, definitely Van Gerwen, and then that separates him in the table, Tom, and that obviously then starts to open up that little bit of a gap.
Yeah, it's probably not what you want as a neutral, but if you're a big fan of Van Gerwen, that's exactly what you want. So yeah, almost that's what I think could happen, but I would like to see a bit of something different. So hopefully I get proved wrong. That would be nice.
Absolutely. Well, let us know who you think will win it in the comments when you're watching back. We will start to try and advertise these in advance. I promise. We won't just jump it on you as we did do this evening. But yeah, we're done for this week. Talking Darts in the Book episode. Oh, that's a good question. What episode are we today doing?
Well, we're done week 7, so we could be probably episode 7, I would say.
Oh, there we go. But lead us out, Tom, and I'll press the button.
All right. Have a good week, everyone. Enjoy the darts, and we'll catch up with you next week.